Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth Podcast. I'm Jack Smith.
I'm Shrikar Rajendran.
And I'm Anish Gupta.
Man, it's good to be back. All three of us, and these two are in college. And also, this is episode 100 all time. We've rebranded and kind of like revamped it. So it might say episode 27, but going all the way back to when we started this, episode 100, first episode for this NFL season. We got weekly pick. We got all this stuff. I'll let you guys take it away, but damn, this is gonna be a really, really good episode. I'm pumped.
This is amazing. And I was just telling these guys, like, now that me and Anish are in college, I mean, Jack's gonna get there too, but like, this is like a new season of a TV show, like where everyone's just in a different situation, in a different setting, in a different environment. And it feels so good to be back. I'm so hyped for this season to start. I mean, everything, all the storylines, week one is like right here. And this offseason went by a lot quicker than 2020, in my opinion. But I mean, we're here. I'm really happy, and I can't wait to get this stuff started.
I am absolutely pumped. I can't believe it's been 100 episodes. Like, it feels like just yesterday we were in the little studio after school, but now we're here. We're actually in college. It's, something that we were talking about just as a, kind of a thought, and now it's a reality, which is really cool. And just a quick disclaimer, I'm going to speak for Shrikar. He's not a Packers fan. At least I don't think, even though.
Thank you. This is my roommate.
And we're not Barstool Sports.
Yeah. No affiliations here.
I got some posters in the back. Hopefully our setups are better. I think they're honestly a lot better than what it was back.
Yeah, the Cal poster kind of brings it down a little bit.
Yeah,
0-1, losing to Carson Strong in Nevada.
We have less wins than Kansas. That actually pisses me off.
That's terrible. Okay. Hey, but you have just the same amount of wins as Washington.
Yes, that makes me happy.
Hey, but enough talking about us. Let's talk about the NFL, because this is the start of the new season. I mean, this is going to be in-season content now. Some of the things we're talking about today: Cam Newton was surprisingly cut by the Patriots, and Mac Jones will start. They got some other news. We'll touch on that. We're going to go through, I think we got 7 players that we're going to go boom or bust. They're kind of right on that line, and we're going to predict whether they boom or bust this season. Players like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Tua Tagovailoa, Daniel Jones, and a couple others. And then what you guys have all been waiting for, we've all been waiting for, time to get some revenge on Anish for last season.
I'm staying on top.
We got weekly picks, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. The most competitive thing we do, I would argue the most fun thing we do, and I would hope that it's fun for you guys as well. We'll explain kind of the changes we've made to the pick segment and re-explain to you guys what goes on every year when we get there. But to start it off, Shrikar, Cam Newton was released. I was right. Mac Jones is going to start. I think that was maybe the less shocking part. And then the Newton news kind of hit a little bit harder, but I want to know what your take on the whole situation is.
No, for sure. Nobody, I don't care what you say, nobody thought Cam Newton would be cut. And I feel really bad for Cam Newton, because he said it himself. There are not 32 quarterbacks better than him. And I think that's true. I think he can be, a good starter for a team like the Texans, for example. He'd be a great starter there. I'd love to see him reunite with Ron Rivera in Washington. That would be intriguing to see. But as for Mac Jones, in a hot take episode, I don't know how many months ago it was, the first thing I said was Mac Jones would start over Cam Newton. And, good thing I was right. I was starting to lean towards Cam Newton. But I mean, I was still confident in Mac Jones being the starter. But I think Bill Belichick made the right move. I commend him for this. I think Mac Jones fits the Patriots offense a lot better than Cam Newton does. And I think Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels realize this. And instead of going the Matt Nagy route, where you kind of groom Mac Jones in a way while Cam Newton starts, he picked who he thought was the better player, and he did not care about experience. He did not take that into account. So I actually like that move for Bill Belichick, and I think that was the right move in this case. Although I would have liked to see Cam Newton remain on the team as a backup. I think that still would have been valuable to Mac Jones' development. And Rob Ninkovich was on the air, and he said that apparently Cam Newton was getting help from Mac Jones with learning the playbook. Now, first of all, I don't think that's true. If that is true, very embarrassing. But I don't know whether that speaks to Mac Jones's development, or is this on Cam Newton? I don't know. But either way, I don't buy it. But I'm really happy for Mac Jones. This is going to be a great opportunity. If this experiment works and Mac Jones is really the QB that I think he is, the Patriots are going to be a problem again, because the defense is great. It's been kind of slept on this offseason because other defenses have been on the rise. The offensive line is amazing. The Patriots are just great at developing offensive line. And look, he's got all the pieces around him. And Bill Belichick is one of, if not the best coach in the NFL right now. So I'm really happy for Mac Jones. This is a great opportunity for him. When he slid to 15, I was saying this was a steal for the Pats, and it looks like it will be. I'm just hoping, that he can show us that preseason Mac Jones against actual NFL defenses, and I think he'll pan out for them.
I think I had a couple takeaways. First off, it happened on my birthday at like 7:30 in the morning. I was so shocked. I was so sad. Like, I was like, because I love Cam Newton, and I've defended him a lot on the show, but I would say here's like my few takeaways on it. Like, one, it's such a Bill Belichick thing to do. Like, I mean, it's like it comes out of nowhere, and it's something that you wouldn't expect. I think I said on last week's episode, this was before Cam got released, but I said out of all the quarterbacks, I thought Mac was genuinely ready to start week 1, and I didn't think any had showed me enough. I mean, Zach Wilson was kind of there, but I said Mac Jones was, I thought, clear-cut one after what I've seen from everybody. And I mean, obviously, I did a scouting report back in April, and I loved what I saw from him, and I wanted him to go to New England. I was very happy that he's there now. And a quick touch on what Rob Ninkovich said. I watched a little bit of the podcast that he said it on, and he basically said that Cam Newton was not running 2-minute drills or no huddle. Like, he wasn't running it properly, and they didn't want him to do it as much in practice. Mac Jones did it really well. And if you think about the Patriots, what they were able to do best in their entire tenure with Tom Brady was the 2-minute drill before the first half. It was always that. They would always get a score, and that always gave them momentum going into the second half. So if you have a quarterback that can run that better, plays to your offensive strengths, that is what makes Tom Brady so good, and that is what makes Mac Jones so good, and that's what has made him so good in this preseason. So I think in terms of fit, I was actually thinking that, Cam should have started, just because I thought he also looked really good in the preseason. So that's why it's a little bit shocking to me. But like I said, I think I'm ready to see Mac Jones go in action. He's got a tough assignment against this Miami defense, but I'm really excited to see what he can do. And I think for New England, like Shrikar said, they could be a problem. Like, this is Mac Jones, if he really plays to what, he is, which is not a deep ball thrower. He's not going to consistently, throw the ball down the field, but he hits his reads. He can break down reads again, make his progressions. Like, we were seeing it in practice too. He was hitting his third read. That was something that people were concerned about, especially coming out of Alabama, when he didn't really have to look past this primary read. He was progressing really nicely in camp, and I'm really excited to see it. So yeah, I'm in full support with Mac Jones starting, and it's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah, I've said for about a month now that I thought Mac Jones should start and that he would, just because you can't watch what he did in the preseason and not see Tom Brady. Like, it is exactly what the Patriots had for all those years. And that's the one thing that pushed me over the edge, saying that Mac Jones was going to start. And to your point, Shrikar, about how Cam Newton, you wish he stayed on the roster, my best guess is that there was kind of an agreement where they came to him and said, hey, we're going to start Mac. And then Cam asked, can I be released so I can actually find a job? That's my guess. Because a guy like Cam Newton, who's, if you're behind,
sorry, just quick thing. Like, I also think it shows the whole vaccination unvaccination thing. I think that's like a genuine, that's a genuine thing in the NFL. Now. Yeah. Like, you're going to see that. I mean, even rosters, right? You saw like the percentage of vaccination drastically increased when the 53 man cuts.
No, exactly. It's a competitive decision. If a team has the choice between an unvaccinated guy or a vaccinated guy, they're obviously going to pick the vaccinated guy. It just helps their team out. It's a business. But
my guess is also, like, Cam knew if Mac Jones is starting, he's not going to get benched. They're gonna ride with him, and so he knows, like, unless there's an injury that happens, he's probably not going to get a chance to play the season. So my guess is, like, yeah, it would make sense for the Patriots to keep him, but I think they kind of wanted to honor him a little bit and give him at least an opportunity to go find a job elsewhere, because you're right there. As much as I, talk about Cam Newton, how I don't really believe in him and all the problems I've cited over the last couple of years, there aren't 32 quarterbacks better than him. I mean, he would start over Tyrod Taylor. He'd probably start over Sam Darnold in Carolina. I think he'd have a shot at starting over Daniel Jones in New York. Like, I could name
starting over Sam Darnold in Carolina.
Yeah, I could name many jobs that Cam Newton could go and do a better job. He's probably better than Ryan Fitzpatrick as of right now, and I think he would bring a different dimension to that offense. But I am happy that we're going to see Mac Jones. This starts, and I want to talk about this in a second. The AFC East now. All quarterbacks under, I think it's 25 years old.
Josh Allen is the most tenured guy in that division. That's actually 25. Insane.
Yeah. So we got 25, I think 23, 22, and 22.
Yep.
Wow.
And, we don't know about Tua Tagovailoa yet. We'll talk about him later, actually, in the Boomer Bust segment. But that's pretty crazy. And this could, the AFC East, we could see these guys grow up all together into their 30s, playing against each other for years.
Awesome to think about.
And this is the only division right now where that's all these young quarterbacks that were all taken in the first round.
It's
So
a new era, man. It's a new era.
And so, first of all, I'm happy that Mac Jones is going to get the start. It does suck for Cam, and it didn't make a ton of sense. But as I thought about it more, my guess is there's kind of an agreement there. But second of all, there's one more thing we have to talk about with the Patriots. Stephon Gilmore is out until week 7. How do you guys think that this affects the Patriots defense?
It's a big loss, but I think J.C. Jackson is a number 1 corner. I really like J.C. Jackson a lot. So I think he can hold it down until Gilmore comes back. But obviously, it's a big loss. Stephon Gilmore is one of the best corners in football. But in terms of depth, I think the Patriots have enough to cover it.
It's tough. I mean, Stephon Gilmore is that guy. And personally for JC Jackson, I kind of agree with what you're saying, Streetcar, but I just don't know if he's like a true number 1. My thing is like, he can hold his own on a side. That's like, so I guess you could say it like that, but he hasn't had to go up against the team's number 1 receiver a lot. So that's why I'm a little bit concerned. But again, he's always been able to hold his own. So that's a little bit, kind of concerning, but you could see it last year too. Stephon Gilmore wasn't 100% in some of the games. And that quad, I don't know what's up with it. Like, if we're being real, like they haven't really given us enough on it. And I don't know how big of an injury it really is. I'm pretty sure he got surgery on it, if I'm not mistaken. But I think for the Patriots itself, I'm glad they got Shaun Wade. That's a good piece that you can put in. He'd probably have to be in the slot.
He's slot.
So you'd probably have to be in the slot, but I think that just adds a little bit of depth to your secondary room. And, they've got Devin McCourty back there, and, they've got a decent amount. I believe Patrick Chung came back too. I mean, they've got some depth there. So I'm not too worried, but this is concerning just long-term for where Stephon Gilmore may or may not go with the Patriots in just long-term future.
Yeah. And he might be involved in trade talks as the season kind of wears on. He's already seen some floating ideas like Arizona trading for him, and maybe the Saints trading for him. Like maybe there's a Michael Thomas and Stephon Gilmore swap coming.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
But we'll see as time goes on. The Patriots aren't afraid to trade away their players. I mean, they just traded away Sony Michel and they cut Cam Newton. So they're not afraid to pull the trigger. And we're going to have to pull the trigger right now on these boom or bust players. We're going to put these guys there. Like I said before, they're kind of like in that tier where this season it's either kind of make or break. They got a boom or bust, and we're going to pull the trigger and pick one by one who we think. Shrikar, the first player is Daniel Jones, quarterback for the New York Giants. What do you think in this year, boom or bust?
This entire offseason, I would have said boom. But I've done, some thinking towards Daniel Jones over the past few weeks. And now I'm actually leaning bust, because one thing I was always praising the Giants for was the weaponry. I've been on air saying this is the most underrated receiving core in the NFL. And I think that's still true. My concern is with the offensive line. The offensive line is still not good. So let's just think about it in game. You give the ball to Saquon Barkley on first and second down. I think that's what's going to happen. If the offensive line isn't doing their job, Saquon Barkley's impact is not going to be there. And if Daniel Jones is going to be in third down and, in any third down situation, especially third and long, I do not trust him to make the throw for the first down. That is just what I'm thinking, because I was hoping this offense would uplift Daniel Jones and it wouldn't be Daniel Jones uplifting the offense, because I don't think the latter would happen. I think the former, there's a good chance of it happening. But I'm leaning towards bust right now. And of course, the Giants have 2 first-rounders in this year's draft. So if he does bust, I mean, there's going to be a new QB in New York. So we'll see how that goes. But right now, I am leaning bust because of the offensive line. And I think that is a major issue for this team going forward.
Damn. I think everyone knows my take on Daniel Jones. I love the guy. I'm still going to say boom. And you know what? I know there's some bias in there, but hear me out. Okay. My thing is, look, the offensive line has always been an issue. It's been an issue in New York for the last 7 years. Or since 2013. It's always been an issue. So, I mean, I feel like that wasn't going to change in an off season. My thing is, I think he's never had a consistent number 1 receiver, not even close to that. And even with the receiving core right now, I know Kenny Golladay is kind of injured. At least there's depth. There's so many people there that you're going to have a solid 3 out there no matter what. I think there's going to be a solid group of receivers out there for him. And I know they've looked shaky in camp. I know they've looked shaky in practice. But I just something about it. If Saquon Barkley can stay healthy, I think that's my contingency again, for same as last year. I just think he needs some stability somewhere. I feel like that's all he needs. And like, see, that's not even an indication of him, because I think he's very talented. And I think both of you guys can agree with me on that. He's quick. He's one of the fastest quarterbacks in the league. He's also got a great arm downfield. He's had statistically, he's really good analytically on deep passes. But I think it just goes to show that for a quarterback, a lot of it is contingent on what is around you. And I think, my contingency is probably just, some stability with running back and receiving core. And I think he's going to have some of that. That's why I think he will boom. And I think he will have a good season. I just don't know what that is for him, because I don't know the kind of standards, but I'll kind of turn it on to Jack as he gives his boom or bust. If, let's say, he does bust, are you completely out on him? Because I think he's yet to have full stability. That's my thing. And I think with a quarterback like that, you've given him kind of 2.5 years. What do you do with him?
Yeah, I think, first of all, as many people know what Anish's take on Daniel Jones is, mine. I haven't really been a big fan of him. I see the talent, but he just has too many issues for me to believe in him. And I think that it would take a perfect roster around him to kind of make him to that boom player. And there was a chance where I thought that the Giants may be building that. Say Andrew Thomas last year really played as well as Becton or Wirfs, or those guys, and looked like he could be that franchise left tackle. Or if he looked the part this preseason, which he really didn't.
No.
And then bringing in Kenny Golladay, bringing in obviously Saquon Barkley a couple of years ago.
Tony.
If everything was gelling together, Kadarius Toney looked to be a good draft pick. Like, if all of that was working, it would leave me with a decision right now, because I do believe with his talent and his abilities, if things go right, I really do think, like Shrikar said, he can uplift the team, or the team can uplift him and not the other way around. But the stuff that I've been seeing at a Giants camp, the dysfunction that happened with Joe Judge and everything like that, I just feel like it's a little bit too fragile of a spot for me to believe that Daniel Jones can pull it off. And to answer your question, Anish, I was kind of done with him last year. So if he gets another season where he busts, I'm out on him again.
And you have 2 first rounders this year.
Yep.
That all but says this is make or break.
That's why I think I just don't know how much stock they're going to put into those first round picks. It really depends on what theirs is and what Chicago's is. I think that's when you really decide. And I think it has to be clear cut, because again, he had half a year his first year, and his second year, he kind of it was really, in terms of passing the football, it just wasn't there. He had under 10 touchdowns passing. So it wasn't that good. But again, that's why I'm saying this year is really like a make or break. And that's why I think a lot of people have Daniel Jones at the top of, always year 3 has been a make or break year in the NFL for any guy. And, especially with all the things riding on him, with New York, it's going to be tough because this division is always open. So, that's why I feel like every team in the NFC East is always boom or bust, and he's going to have a big part in that.
Well, and I would honestly disagree with that. I don't think it's really boom or bust in the NFC East, because there's really never a boom. Like, even the teams that win get about 9 wins.
Yeah.
It happens every year. It just evens out.
True. That's fair. I think Dallas has had a couple years of past few, but you're right. There's just been no consistency. That's, I think, the problem with this team.
Yeah. I'm going to stick with my gut. I really wasn't believing in him. We might see, a big leap from him. I feel like he's right in that position that Josh Allen and Sam Darnold were. I feel like he's kind of right in the middle of that too. Josh Allen
had go either way.
Allen had a really good supporting cast. Sam Darnold didn't have. I think Daniel Jones was right in the middle. Josh Allen took the leap. Sam Darnold did not. He was kicked to the curb. I think Daniel Jones is right in the middle right now, and we'll see how he ends up. Shocking parallels to both, and I think it kind of ends up a little bit more like the latter. I would, if I had to put money on it, whether he booms or whether he's not on the Giants next year, I'd probably pick, or he's not the Giants starting quarterback next year. I think I'd go with the latter. But our second player is Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back from the Chiefs. Shrikar, boom or bust?
I'm actually going to say boom, because prior to Le'Veon Bell coming to the Chiefs, he was actually looking solid. And we saw what happened this offseason. The offensive line is drastically improved. This is going to be the best offensive line the Chiefs have had in the Mahomes era. So I'm really excited to see that. And I think this is going to be great for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I know last year I was decently high on him, and I don't think that was the year I should have been high on him. I think it should have been this year, because his usage was not what it was after they got Le'Veon Bell, and I don't like what the Chiefs were doing with that. So now that if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the lead back, like the certified lead back, I definitely think he's going to boom. And I think that's what's going to happen with the Chiefs offense this year. And I think it's just another layer to this offense. And it's going to help Mahomes out as well. So I'm going to say boom for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I think he's going to have a good season.
I am 100% in on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm 100% boom on this one. This one is the one I'm most certain of all the guys on this list. I picked him in fantasy for a reason. I think, again, like Shrikar said, so last year I actually was not high on him just because I was concerned with the offensive line with all the kind of the opt-outs they had. And I just didn't think they were going to use him as much as people were making it out to be, right? Especially the whole buzz, especially with fantasy drafts and all that. Oh, he should be a first round pick. He's going to go crazy in this offense. I was not that high on him. And he really only had 2 games last season that like really showed he would be a number 1 back. It was Texans first week and it was the Buffalo game. That's it. So Buffalo game in the regular season. So now I think, like Shrikar said, the offensive line certainly is better compared to last year. I don't think it was as good as 2018 just because I think there's so many guys coming in that you have to take, it's going to take some time to gel. But again, Clyde Edwards-Helaire gives you 2 2 layers to his game, right? 2 variants on offense, both running the ball and receiving. And I think that adds another layer to the offense, which can be used now without the whole Le'Veon Bell situation. Shrikar pointed it out. I think he's a very talented running back. He's young, he's quick, he's shifty, and he can make all the moves in open space. I'm very high on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think he could be one of the best backs in the entire league. I think he could make a top 7 to 8 case. If what I think happens does happen. He's in a great offense, great situation. They're going to be up in a lot of games too. And I think if you can just get better in between the tackles, Chiefs got really good interior for offensive line, which I'm really happy about. So I think he's going to be a boom. I'm really excited for that one.
Yeah, I mean, you guys stole the words right out of my mouth. I was going 100% boom too. There's not much more I can say. You guys cut it perfectly. The offensive line's improved. I was really high on the talent coming out of the draft. I had him as my number 1 running back, I believe. And I just think that, huh? No. I think I had Clyde, JK, and then Swift. Gotcha. Again, I feel like I have to mention it. I cannot believe J.K. Dobbins got hurt, but we'll move on.
Clyde Edwards, so sad.
Yeah,
I had him number 1 last year, and that sucks. So,
no, I believe Clyde's gonna have a really, really good season because the talent is there. I was really impressed by his vision, his shiftiness, and his pass catching ability. Now they've improved the offensive line, and I feel like another year under the system, they'll use him in a little bit more creative ways. The holes will be there for him, like they kind of weren't the first year. The Chiefs, I feel like, this did not have the success running the ball that we thought they could, especially with how potent the pass is. But no, I really am expecting a huge statistical year for Clyde. I'm not sure maybe if he'll insert himself into that top 7 backs quite yet, since there are so many great NFL running backs, but I could see him maybe passing up guys like Ezekiel Elliott or
I think he'll pass Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know how high I have Josh Jacobs right now. But I can see, passing that group like Chris Carson and Josh Jacobs. I don't know about David Montgomery quite yet, but I'm expecting a huge statistical season for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I wish I was able to grab him in a couple fantasy leagues, but I really do think he can have a great year this year. Unlike Tua Tagovailoa, who's our next boomer bust player, I've said it all offseason, not expecting a big year from Tua. I didn't like the prospect coming out in the draft. I just saw too many issues. And while the Dolphins, I believe, have grabbed some players that could really help him, I just don't see it working out with Tua. I really like where the Dolphins are trending, especially on offense. I had a Jalen Waddle film review kind of thing in the works, but had to scrap that one. But I said in that one, and I guess I can put it out there now, I really do believe Jalen Waddle was the perfect player for Tua Tagovailoa. But I said at that point, like, this is not me saying that he's going to fix all of Tua's problems. Because I just don't see it. And I really don't think with the accuracy problems, with the arm strength issues, with the ability to be injured, the decisiveness, I just don't think Tua Tagovailoa gets it done. If we had kind of like that middle territory instead of going boom or bust, I'd probably lean there because I still think the Dolphins do well this season. But to be honest, I don't think it will be because of Tua.
I'm personally like close to that middle territory, but I'm actually leaning boom for Tua. I actually believe in him. I think he can be a good starting QB in the NFL. But yeah, all the issues you pointed out, 100%. Like, that's stuff that I'm concerned about. The hip injury I'm still concerned about, and apparently he's, kind of recovered from that. But I think what the Dolphins did this offseason, on one side, they were helping out Tua. But on the other side, especially in recent weeks with the Deshaun Watson news, are they 100% in on Tua? I don't know. Because if they really were, I don't know why they'd be in these, Deshaun Watson trade ideas. But I believe in Tua. I'm confident in him. I'm going to say boom. With the addition of Jalen Waddle, and don't sleep on Will Fuller. I think he can be a great addition for him as well. I think he'll do good. And I really like the Dolphins defense this year. I think they're going to be an S tier, if not already are an S tier defense this year. So I'm excited. I think Brian Flores, as we all know, is a great head coach. And I think this is a playoff caliber team. And I think Tua can make that leap this year. And if not next year, I think he still has time. But I'm going to go with Tua as a boom player.
See, here's my thing with Tua. What classifies as a boom? Does it make the playoffs? Does he have to make the Pro Bowl? It's so weird for a guy like this because he's in a really good team. He's in a really good situation. And here's the thing with the Deshaun Watson stuff. I think that had to do with the Dolphins front office. Flores has been all in on Tua, which I think I'm kind of glad with. And I'm leaning boom as well, just because I think he'll do enough to get them to the playoffs. But that's why I'm saying, does that mean he's not a bust? What does that really like? That whole middle area is kind of what Jack is alluding to. But I think he has the tools to be a good starting quarterback in this league. I saw again the keyword flash. I mean, he can throw it in some tight windows. He's got good. There are some clips where you see it and he's got really good accuracy. And then you just watch that Bills game week 17 and you're like, what the hell am I watching? Like, who is this guy? I mean, he's had those up and down moments. And like you guys alluded to with Jalen Waddle and Will Fuller, I'm not going to touch much on those guys. I think both of them were great additions. I'm just, again, concerned about the O-line. It just goes to show how important an O-line is to an NFL roster. I say it's the second most important. I think it's the most important unit. And I think, some of the positions are really crucial to a whole NFL offense. So, I mean, again, I just don't know what their O-line is going to be like. They still got some inconsistencies there. And I think that's going to, really entail what Tua does in plays in the pocket and outside, because a lot of his plays had to be from outside the pocket, cross body throws. Obviously he's left-handed. So, eluding out left, but I mean, it'll be really interesting to see how he does. I'm going to lean boom just because I think he has the tools to, at least build on what he did last year. Last year, there were a lot of games where he just wasn't asked to do much. And I think there will be some times where he will be, asked to kind of throw the ball down the field and get them into some, better situations. And there were some good moments in camp. There were a lot of over the shoulder throws that he was hitting. So it will be really interesting to see. He is a second-year quarterback. So I feel like the Dolphins should not give up right away. They do have a lot of, draft capital heading into next offseason. But again, they can always build on that over time. Like they've been pushing their draft picks back. I think, and that's really smart. So I'm glad what the Dolphins have, because they have a security blanket in terms of, future capital. But as of right now, I think they should buy into Tua just because he is young and, he can easily improve. I mean, this is an offense and this is a team where, it allows a quarterback to, not be asked to do that much, where he doesn't have to go all out. And I think he has the potential to boom in this offense.
I think it's possible, but just personally, I don't see it. He's got the talent for it, but I'm going to lean bust on this one. Our next player is also a second-year quarterback, and a player I was really high on kind of towards the end of last season. I said I was putting my stock in him, but we're still going to go over it. Jalen Hurts, quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. Shrikar, what do you think for this one? Boom or bust as we get in towards picks?
I'm not really high on Jalen Hurts. I don't know. It's like, I feel like the Eagles are playing themselves into another Carson Wentz situation where they're not going to help out Jalen Hurts. And I know the addition of Devontae Smith was, viewed as a good move, but there's still risk involved in that. Like Devontae Smith transitioning to the NFL, I know there's concerns with his size. Can he overcome that? Maybe, but it's still a concern. Like you can't avoid it. The offensive line is all right. Defense, not that great. So honestly, I'm gonna say bust for Jalen Hurts, because I don't think his supporting cast is really that good to the point where I'm gonna be confident in him, being a boom player. And again, as Anisha is saying, I don't know what classifies as boom for like any of the quarterbacks we're talking about. Like I don't know what season that entails. Will the Philadelphia Eagles win the NFC East? I'm going to say no way. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't even know how competitive they're going to be in 2021, but I don't think Jalen Hurts is the guy. And I think the Eagles front office is not doing right by him at all, really.
It's tough. This one's a hard one. Like, again, it just classifies what is a boom or bust, because I think he has talent and he has a lot of it. And I think in terms of like for an Eagles quarterback, like, with Nick Sirianni and all that, I'm so torn on this one. I'm still gonna say boom just because I think he's gonna improve, right? And I think he's going to keep his job for next year. And I think that's what qualifies as a boom, because I don't see the Eagles going far this year. I just think he's going to, keep him in games, maybe win a couple upsets that just make you go, wow, this guy is talented. And I feel like that's what qualifies as a boom. So I think Shrika already touched on it. The team is not great around him. There's not a lot of star pieces, but he has some weapons. So I'm going to say boom. And I know it's just so hard for me to call someone a bust. It's hard for me to hate on a guy. So I'm going to stick with boom here.
Yeah. I really don't want to hate on Jalen Hurts, but like last season, I put my kind of stocks in, and I'm going to pull it back because as much as I believe in what he did last season and what he showed coming off the bench and beating teams like the Saints and, playing well in almost every game he played, the Eagles have not shown any loyalty to him this offseason, being in trade talks with Deshaun Watson, looking for, backup quarterbacks, and they did not commit to him. And if they're not committing to him, it means that they don't believe in him. So it's kind of hard for me to believe that he's going to be a boom, especially with all the other problems that Shrikar, you mentioned as well. The offensive line is not amazing. The defense is not great. I really do believe in Devontae Smith. He showed all preseason, even though he's small, no one can get their hands on him. Like that's how he beats presses. He gets around everyone. But I just don't see the Eagles having a very successful season. And if they're not committing Jalen Hurts either, it's hard to believe that, he's going to have a very successful season either. So as much as I don't like to do it, and I'd really like to say boom because of what I saw last season, the reality is I just don't think I can. With everything that's come out about the Eagles and that just the outlook on their season as a whole, I cannot predict a boom season for Jalen Hurts, mostly because of the situation around him, even because I do believe in the player. So our final player of this segment is Odell Beckham Jr., Browns wide receiver. And Anish, as our Browns fan, you get to go first, and I'll bet you're going to go now 5 for 5 on booms because you just have an inability to predict some players' downfalls or poor seasons. What do you think about Odell, boom or bust?
I just don't like saying a player is going to do bad. I don't know. There's not a lot of players that I just don't think are going to do well. For Odell, it's so ironic because, one of the YouTubers that we all watch, Jack mostly watches him, Brett Coleman, he made a video on Odell Beckham Jr. And I can't lie, that was one of the most, I watch a lot of football videos and I kind of clown most of the YouTubers that do stuff, but this one was a really good produced video. I mean, I thought it was, he kind of broke down how Odell would fit in this offense and, kind of some, not really excuses, but what went wrong last year. And honestly, even looking on that video, I watched it 3 times. I kid you not. I don't know. I loved it. And every time I watched it just grew more and more on me. And I think for Odell Beckham Jr., the talent is, again, it's unquestioned. And he's, one of the best all around receivers, I think, to ever play this game. And that's not saying, he is one of the best or whatever, but his prime, that 3-year stretch from 2014 to 2016 was amazing. And I think I'm going to say boom because there were games last year too where he really made an impact. Cincinnati, he had that really good touchdown. Dallas, he was the key contributor in that game. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns, and in the fourth quarter when it kind of looked like Dallas was coming back, he just takes this insane end around and scores. So, I think he's going to boom this year. And it's a thing where we have the capabilities to get we don't have to keep him long term. I mean, his deal is coming up soon. I think we will have to get rid of one of them, Odell or Landry, because the cap situation is getting out of hand. But I think just for this particular year, I finally think, another year kind of learning. I know he's been rehabbing from the ACL, but I think, just another year under Stefanski's system. And I feel like Baker finally trusts himself to throw the ball downfield a little bit more. We saw DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones, running the same routes that Odell did. And Baker was just throwing it to him, instead of Odell kind of last year. I think when, Coleman mentioned that he wasn't throwing to Odell enough, watching some of the Browns games again, I kind of noticed that as well. So I think if Baker continues what he did last year, has some faith in himself to throw it down the field, because that's where Odell kind of, can also excel. And he can also take a slant to the house. Time will tell how he, fares from this ACL injury, because we've seen him have a season-ending ankle. We've seen him have problems with his leg. But I'm going to say boom. And I know I've gone 5 for 5 with booms, but, I'm going to hold out faith on Odell, and Brett Coleman bought another year of my Odell faith.
I was also going to say boom. And I think it's really easy to say bust when you look at the Browns offense, because this is definitely like run first all the way. But I think Odell is going to be the number one guy in this offense, especially for Baker. And I'm hoping it doesn't end up like last year where Baker loses confidence throwing to Odell. And I don't think that's really going to happen this year, because as Anish said, having another year in the Stefanski system where everything is not just jumbled around and just unorganized, it can do so much for a guy like Odell, especially when he's coming off of injury. So with that stability in place, I think I am more confident in saying Odell will boom. And so that's what I'm just going to go with.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in Odell Beckham this season too, because first of all, as I've said kind of like the entire offseason, I'm a big believer in the Browns. And yes, it will be a run first offense, but there's still passing opportunity in every offense. And Baker had a significantly good season last year. Like he really raised his stock towards the end of the season. And there were people like Anish who would say, Baker was just so much better after Odell was out, but it wasn't because of Odell. And I think it'll be great. Now Odell gets to play with this matured Baker Mayfield that he's never gotten the chance to play with really before. And so I think that with this entire offseason getting work together again, but also because of the shift that Baker Mayfield made last year and the confidence that he got as the season went on, I think it's going to be a whole different story than what we saw with those two on the field. And yeah, you're right, Anish. Odell Beckham Jr.'s talent is absolutely undeniable. And so if you get him on the field with a quarterback who's confident and able to throw it to him, and an offense that is going to open up the pass with the run, I really think the sky's the limit for Odell. And if I had to kind of put a range on it, I'd predict probably a top 10 wide receiver season for Odell. I can honestly see that. Is that too far?
I mean, I would say two things. One, we haven't seen him on the field yet since the ACL. Sure. So like he hasn't been practicing full team drills and he hasn't played in preseason. But I will say like that's some concerns for me. And also, just like, will he, is he going to just be able to run every route that he could, right? That leg it's an ACL, say what you want, but it is. But I will say this, right? Like some of the throws Baker made to like, the receivers in the second half of the year, even in the preseason, the one to Daryl Hodge, who's to say Odell can't run that route? Like he can run any route in the NFL. He's got an insane route tree. So, there's always two sides of the coin, but the ACL still concerns me. I'm going to still, be very cautious with him. And I know this is kind of superstitious me. I don't want to go all in because everything tends to backfire. I've got a curse on me. So, I really wanted to say bust just so I could curse myself and he goes boom, but I'll be realistic. I'll keep it real. But yeah, top 10 season's not out of the question, but I would not bank on that just because of how many weapons there are on the Browns offense.
I think he's going to be top 15 to 20. I would say in that range. It wouldn't surprise me though. Top 10.
Yeah, maybe 15 is a little bit more conservative. I don't know. Yeah. I'm trying to be a little bit bold because I can see it. I can see it happening with how good I think the Browns are going to be, and with the improvement I saw from Baker last year.
Mm-hmm. No, I wouldn't put it past Odell. I mean, no, he's a great receiver.
Yeah. If you guys are on YouTube,
first thing I'm saying no to.
Yeah. If you guys are on YouTube, please let us know down in the comment section what you think for these players. We went over 5 guys. Let us know your boomer bust. We'd love to talk about it with you guys. But this is the segment that we've all been waiting for.
Oh, I'm so excited.
We're sure you guys have all been waiting for. Weekly picks. If you guys are new to the channel, we pick every single game of the entire NFL season. We've done it for the last 2 years. I won the first season. Anish won last year. And we also
y'all know what that means.
That you're not winning,
coming in last.
Y'all know what that means.
No, it means I'm gonna repeat. I mean, this is the hey, I won the full year. So Jack won the first, but it was like half. I won the full. So I'm taking full credit for
it. Was honestly though, it was the most fun thing we did last season because it was really close. And we like to include you guys too, because why not? So basically what we're gonna do is last season we kind of did one episode where we did picks for every single game, and they ended up being really long. We talked a lot about games that really we probably didn't need to talk about for too long. And with these two in college and Just our schedule is kind of ramping up. We're not going to be on air picking every single game, but we will still be picking them. So what we're going to do is episodes like this every week where we have some topics, and then at the end, we'll go over the biggest games of the week. I believe today we've got 7 games that we're going to talk about. And then the rest of them picks we'll put on our community post. We'll put them in the description for this video. We'll put them in the pinned comment. You guys will definitely see them. And so we'll also on Instagram, like we did last year, do fan picks. What we do is on our Instagram story, if you guys aren't following us there, link in the description, we'll put up the game and we'll put the little poll feature where you pick one or the other. And whichever by game time is the leading pick, we'll put that in a spreadsheet with our picks, compare our records at the end of the week and of every couple of weeks, end of the year, and see who comes out on top. Maybe we'll think about doing a giveaway if you guys come in first this year, because you guys had a really good season last year. Fans tend to pick chalk, but it ends up working. So what we're going to do is we'll pick these games, a couple of these 7 big games on air. The rest of the stuff we'll put out there so you guys see it, and then we'll ask for your picks as well. But to get into it, first game this Thursday. It's a couple days from when recording this on Monday. So we just found out actually that Zach Martin is going to be out. So I'm glad we recorded it before that. But Dallas, Tampa Bay, Thursday Night Football, game 1 of the entire season. Shrikar, why don't you pick first?
I think even if Zach Martin was playing, I'm not going to go against the defending champs on ring night. I'm taking the Bucs in this game. But let me say this. Now that Zach Martin is out, Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh are going to have amazing games. Like, they are going to feast. I think JPP and Shaq Barrett are going to have great games. And Tom Brady's Tom Brady. I mean, I think he's going to be – he could be even better this year because think about it. This is a full offseason now. We went through a shortened offseason, Tom Brady, and he won the Super Bowl. And now we're going to get a full offseason of him. I think he's going to be even better than he was last year. So I'm going to go with the Bucs in this game. I tend not to go against the defending champs on ring night, and I think that's going to stand true here as well.
Yeah, everything's pointing in Tampa Bay's favor. I mean, they're at home. They got a full offseason. All 22 starters are returning. And for Dallas, again, Dak had to rehab from 2 things. The ankle and a little bit of the shoulder this past month. So I know they said that Dak is like going into week 1 with no concerns. I'm not buying that. Dak is a good quarterback, but to go against this Tampa Bay front 7 without Zach Martin, this is going to be tough. This is a tough task. In terms of fantasy also, I think Amari and CD be a little bit cautious just because of, we don't know what Dak's getting. I'm probably still going to start Amari just because he's a big name, but Tampa Bay, everything's leaning in their favor. I think they're favored by a lot, and I think Tampa Bay is going to win this game.
Yeah. I forget exactly what the number is. My dad went to Vegas, and so I told him to lay down a parlay, and I did bet Tampa Bay to cover, because I do think they're going to win this game. And I think that there's a chance that this is not a very close game. They blew out the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and this is Dallas, the Dallas defense. So I do think Tampa Bay, Tom Brady will not lose on ring night. He won't lose on opening day. Obviously super excited for the game. But honestly, Tampa Bay, I think is kind of going to hand it to Dallas, because that's kind of normally what happens for Cowboys fans. It's always a little bit of letdown. But I don't think anyone should be expecting Dallas to win this game. Tom Brady, Tampa Bay Bucs on offense and defense, just overall much better team than the Dallas Cowboys. And I think they get it done week 1. Mm-hmm. Game 2 that we're picking is Pittsburgh and Buffalo, another marquee matchup. Pittsburgh coming off of that terrible loss in the postseason last year, but they were a good team for a lot of last year. And Buffalo hoping to keep pushing with Josh Allen. Srikar, your pick.
I definitely think this is going to be a close game. The Steelers D-line against the Bills O-line is a mismatch. And I think the Steelers D-line will do good. But here's the thing. I do not trust Big Ben to beat Josh Allen. That's just what it is. I think the Bills' run defense is good enough to stop Najee Harris. And if Najee Harris can't get going, Big Ben is not the same. I'm not high on Big Ben this year at all whatsoever. So I think just off of that, I'm going to go with the Bills at home, start off 1-0. I just trust Josh Allen, against the Steelers defense more than I do Big Ben against the Bills defense. That's all it really comes down to for me, because I don't think Najee Harris will be as big of a factor in this game as, people may think.
I actually disagree. I think Najee will have a pretty good game. I think they're going to give him a lot of touches, and I think he's going to do on some of them. I think he's going to get like one big run and maybe a touchdown. So I think that qualifies as a good enough game. But that being said, I'm picking Buffalo. There's a guy up there, number 17, that I really like, and I think he kind of handed it to Pittsburgh last year, and I think he's going to kind of do it again. Stephon Diggs is going to eat. Steelers secondary again. I mean, aside from Joe Hayden, I just don't think they have and Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think they've still got some holes there. But yeah, I'm gonna pick Buffalo at home, more kind of stability there, and yeah, I'm gonna go with Buffalo.
Yeah, I think I'm seeing a big day for both defensive lines. But like Shrikar said, there's only one team I can really say I'm expecting a big day from the quarterback and the offense as a whole, and that's Buffalo. I'm just not. I haven't been a big believer in Big Ben for a couple of years now, and with that offensive line, with the questions that we still have at receiver, because those guys really quieted down as the season went on, Claypool, Juju, and Deontay Johnson. I'm expecting kind of maybe a quieter day from the Pittsburgh Steelers offense than the Bills, and so I think the Bills not squeak it out, but I do think that they win. I don't know. I don't want to give points, but I think it's maybe a comfortable win that's still a little bit close. But I think a big day for both defensive lines, especially because it's two below average offensive lines.
Mm-hmm.
Game 3 is Arizona at the Tennessee Titans. First game with Julio Jones in Tennessee. First game for Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury, who could be on the hot seat this season. A big game to open it. Again, Shrikar, who are you picking?
Cardinals surprised me last year in week 1 with their win over the 49ers. So in this game, I'm definitely not counting out Arizona. I think this is going to be a very, very, very high scoring game. Ultimately, I'm going to go with Tennessee, though. I'm going to go with the home team. And for me, I'm taking Ryan Tannehill over Kyler Murray. I think it came down to the QBs because I think both teams are going to put a bunch of points on the board, and I think it's going to be pretty close. But if there is a chance of a game-winning drive, I'm trusting Ryan Tannehill over Kyler Murray to give me points. That's kind of what it comes down to for me. So I'm going to go with the Titans in this game. But look, the Titans defense, it could fold. It could fold, and Arizona could take advantage of that, which makes this a very tough game. But I'm going to stick with my gut, and I'm going to go with Tennessee.
The Titans defense does concern me a little bit. I'm going to keep it real. I think they've got holes in all three levels. But I'm still going to pick them just because, like, the Arizona secondary also gives me concerns. And who the hell is stopping AJ Brown and Julio Jones? I think that is such a lethal combo. And, I think the Titans are going to have a lot of fun on offense this year. And I think just them being at home too, again, a little bit more stability. But like Shrikar said, and I was going to talk about this too, Arizona upset San Francisco on the road coming off a Super Bowl berth. So, don't count them out. And Kyler Murray is a good quarterback. I mean, he showed me a lot last year, and I think Arizona could take it, make it a really close game. I'm ultimately going to take the home team as well, just because I think Tennessee is more stable and they've got a little bit more firepower on offense.
This one was one of, if not the hardest games for me to pick. But what it came down to was, who do I trust more, the Arizona rush defense or the Tennessee pass defense? And especially in a week 1 game, we talk all about how, players got to get prepared for week 1. They're playing in practice, but really, are they prepared to, take on the physicality of a full 60-minute NFL game? And I feel like the hardest player to be ready for, other than maybe like Aaron Donald, who's on the defensive side of the ball, would be Derrick Henry. I don't know if anyone outside of the Tennessee Titans defense who's played against him in practice is ready or could be ready week 1 to take on the just absolute brute force of Derrick Henry. And at home in Tennessee, with still the threat now of Julio Jones and AJ Brown on the outside and Ryan Tannehill, I just think that Tennessee will just be a little bit too much for the Arizona defense. I think both offenses have the potential to win this game, but I think it's kind of whichever defense loses it first. And I think it's in Arizona. JJ Watt, he'll try. Chandler Jones back, he'll try. But I really do think that Derrick Henry and the Tennessee Titans, they pull away maybe late, and they get the W against Arizona. Our next game, Los Angeles Chargers, Washington football team. I know you said this is one of your hardest games. Who'd you end up going with?
I've been back and forth on this, but have we disagreed on a pick yet?
Not yet.
I don't think so.
I think we might hear though.
This could be the one. I'm rolling with Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers in this game. And I get it. Washington's defense is very good. I know that. It's a fact. Ryan Fitzpatrick against Justin Herbert. I'm taking Herbert. The Chargers defense is better than a lot of people are giving them credit for. They've got playmakers on all three levels. Of course, you have Joey Bosa on the defensive line. I think Kenneth Murray's going to take a big leap this year, and that secondary is loaded. Asante Samuel, Chris Harris, Derwin James is back. He's going to make a big impact. So I think I'm going to go with the Chargers here. But it's one that I've just been flip-flopping around because this is one that I really think Washington could take. But I'm going to stick with my gut again. I'm going to go with the Chargers here.
See, for Washington to win, they would need it to be really low scoring, and they would need to kind of just get that one drive that kind of seals it away. And I just don't think that's going to happen. I think Justin Herbert's going to have a decent game. I know Washington's defense is really, really good. But I thought this game was the one that we might switch up on, but I'm actually taking the Chargers on the road here. And I know I always talk about it. Remember the travel miles, but I think in week 1, it's not really going to affect you that much. So I think I'm going to pick LA here, and I'm really high on the Chargers this year. I think they're going to take, a big step forward. They're kind of like my Dolphins pick last year, just because, they finished the season on a 4-game win streak. I think they kind of buy in and continue on that against Washington. And it's a big win for Coach Staley. So.
Yeah, I agree with Sugar that the Washington defense is amazing, and the Chargers defense, I believe, this season has the opportunity to be equally as good. You mentioned all the players, but Anish, you just mentioned Brandon Staley, and I think he's kind of the key. He completely opened up the Los Angeles Rams defense last year, and he comes to the Chargers, who some could argue, maybe have a more talented overall defensive roster. And I think he can really transform that defense. I think this game will open a lot of eyes to many different things. I think Justin Herbert will show an even improved level of play this season. I think the Chargers defense is really going to open eyes. And I think Chase Young people are going to realize, man, this guy's already one of the best defensive players in the league. But when it came down to it, I had to go with the Chargers because I think that, Washington defense is amazing. First of all, amazing. They absolutely tore up the Eagles in week 1 last year. But I think the Chargers defense can be equally as good. And the Chargers offense is just, it's on another level compared to the Washington defense. And as good as the Washington defense is, I don't think they've got anyone that can completely lock down Keenan Allen. I think that's the one piece that they're missing from that defense is kind of that lockdown corner who you can trust one-on-one against the team's best receiver every week. And so I think the Chargers offense with Herbert, their improved defense, I think Keenan Allen might be the X factor player there. If Justin Herbert,
I think some plays out the backfield in the receiving game, I think he could do that.
And there's an argument to be made for Washington because a lot of people think that Herbert might regress against pressure this season because he was just so unbelievably good against it last year. But I think week 1 on the road, Chargers get the win. Unfortunately for you guys, it is kind of boring because we're going 4.
I know. I thought we would switch it up on this one. Interesting. Okay.
I thought one of you guys was going to take Arizona. But we might switch up on this one. Cleveland at Kansas City. Anish, you going with your Browns?
I hate week 1. This is the one bad thing about week 1 because I'm always so excited. We have not won a week 1 game since 2005.
That's what it's been
16 years, and they always give us such a tough matchup. It's always like the Steelers after a playoff berth or the Ravens after a playoff berth, and now we get literally the defending AFC champions. That's so unfair at Kansas City too. This is so bad. I really hate this because we literally had a similar thing last year when we had to play at Baltimore. This one is really tough because I think we could face them again down the road, and I want to be a lot more ready for that one. This game, I'm really, I think just Kansas City's got too much firepower right now. Our linebackers are a little bit weak, and I think Travis Kelce's going to eat again. And if I'm being realistic, I think we have a better chance, this game than we actually did last year in the divisional round. Obviously, we got a little bit fortunate with Mahomes being hurt. I think this game is going to be a lot closer in that, than the first half was last year. But that being said, I'm going to take Kansas City, and this really hurts me. It does. I'm going to be rooting for us, obviously, but I think, they just have a little bit more stability than we have on both sides of the ball in terms of, Odell coming back. And obviously our linebacking core is a little bit weak with some injuries that we had recently in camp. But I think it's going to be a close game. I'm going to root for the Browns, and I'd be really happy to get this one wrong, but I'm picking Kansas City.
I'm also taking the Chiefs, but I'm actually looking at this game as a measurement of sorts of how good the Browns really are, because the preseason hype around this team has been absolutely just off the charts.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all regarding them as a top 3 team in the AFC. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, which sucks. I don't want that much hype.
Here's the thing, if the Browns can keep it close with the Chiefs, I definitely think the hype is warranted. If they win outright, it's going to go through the moon. But I don't see them winning. As Anish said, they haven't won a week 1 game since 2004. I don't think that's going to change against the defending AFC champs. So I'm going to play it safe here. I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I'm not going to risk anything. And I think I'm ready to see Mahomes behind this new offensive line. Of course, it may not, be as effective early on, but I'm really excited. I'm going to go with the Chiefs here.
I've gone on record saying I think the Chiefs are going to have a Super Bowl hangover this season. And I've also gone on record saying I think that the Browns are going to go to the Super Bowl, which means that they're going to outlast the Kansas City Chiefs. But I think that all is going to hit later in the season. I think week 1, the Chiefs will look a little bit more like themselves. The problems will, maybe come and arise later or in the playoffs. But I think in this game, I got to go with Kansas City. You mentioned the offensive line. Obviously, Mahomes is still there. Hill, Kelsey. I like the Browns defense. I like the direction that they're trending, but right now I just don't think they could handle that Kansas City offense. And with the Chiefs offensive line being more improved, I feel like Myles Garrett and company will not have as much success as they would have against last year's unit, where they had a little bit more success. So I like the Browns over the Chiefs in the long term, but week 1, I got to go Mahomes, got to go Kelsey, Andy Reid. All of the familiar faces in Kansas City. Yeah. I think they get the win in week 1 versus the Browns. But watch out if it comes later in the season. If we see this matchup again, you're probably getting a different pick from me. 2 more games to go. Hopefully we switch it up at some point.
I hope we do, but I doubt on this one.
Hey, but fans, that's what you guys are for. You're the one that are supposed to pick. You're supposed to go Arizona. You're supposed to take Dallas, please. But
please take Dallas.
2 more games. This one, Green Bay, New Orleans, Jameis Winston's first start as a member of the New Orleans Saints. Streetcar, who are you going with?
Before I actually say my pick, first of all, prayers to everyone that's suffering from Hurricane Ida right now. I mean, it is absolutely brutal. This game is going to be played on a neutral field in Jacksonville. Now, this pick could definitely change. I know we got some contingency laced within this. Yeah. So I think this pick could easily change, but I'm actually going to pick the upset here. I'm going to go with Jameis Winston in his first game leading the Saints to a win over the Packers. Now, I know Jameis Winston does not have the best wide receivers at his disposal. Of course, Michael Thomas is out. I think his wide receiver one is Traquan Smith or Callaway, Deontay Harris.
Yeah,
I don't know who it really
going
is.
with a weird lineup.
Yeah, but I mean, Alvin Kamara is still on this team, and I like what he can do against this Packers defense, and I think he's going to make a big impact. There are just storylines like going wild throughout this game, and of course, we see Aaron Rodgers coming back, for that final swan song with the Packers. But I don't know why I'm just feeling an upset here, and Jameis Winston is going to prove all of the doubters wrong in this one game, and it's going to instill a lot more confidence within the Saints organization, within the Saints fan base. And, maybe this is the proving ground for Jameis Winston. This could be an indication of things to come for the rest of the year. Maybe the Saints are actually competitive. But in a Sean Payton offense, I think Jameis Winston, this is an upset pick I've been looking at for a while, and I think it's actually going to happen. So it could change between now and, whenever the picks are actually going to be locked in. But early returns, I'm going to go with the Saints here.
Interesting. We finally got a difference. I got Green Bay. I think, again, the Saints are going to I think Jameis Winston's going to be good with the Saints. And I said it on the last episode. I'm really high on him with New Orleans. But, again, Green Bay, more stability. That's what you look for in week one, in my opinion. And I know with the whole Aaron Rodgers saga, it ended last month. It really did for this season. And on the road, it's, again, a neutral field. First off, prayers, again, everyone suffering from Hurricane Ida. It really sucks the Saints fans won't get to see their team week one. And, maybe some motivation there. It would have been a packed stadium, but really sucks. I'm going to take Green Bay here. They won last year as well at New Orleans. I just think Green Bay offense, it's still really talented. They've got pieces all over the board. There is some concern with the O-line, right? Bakhtiari is not there and Corey Linsley left. So there is a little bit of that, but it is Aaron Rodgers and I still trust him to make those plays. So I'm going to go with Green Bay.
Yeah, I agree with Anish. I'm going with Green Bay just because I think Aaron Rodgers goes out there. He makes a statement. He's still, people forget, the MVP of last season. As much as there was all the drama that went on this offseason, he won the MVP award and he won it for a reason. And I was on the record too saying that I think Jameis Winston's going to be really good this season for the Saints, but not this week. I think this week the Packers defense might swarm the Saints a little bit. Got Jair Alexander, got all those great pieces on defense that with the Saints, without Michael Thomas, and with all those young guys that are still trying to figure it out at wide receivers that, most people believe in long-term, I think it's going to be really hard for them to pull off a win, especially with all the drama going on with the hurricane and moving the game. I think it's hard for them to pull off a big upset against the Green Bay Packers. And I think that just things will click right for the Packers. And eventually I think the Saints will turn things around. I think they could be a really good team this season, but I got to go with the Packers in week 1. I'm sticking with my gut, going with Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, and all those great players to pull off a win against the Saints. And the final game, which if Arizona, Tennessee wasn't the hardest game, this one definitely was. We mentioned it a little bit earlier. It's Miami, New England, battle of the AFC East. Mac Jones's first start, a really, really tough game to pick, but it had to come down to it. And I left it unhighlighted. I got my little doc, like all the other games highlighted. This one, I still was coming down to the wire, but I got to pick the Patriots.
Go first. You pick the Patriots?
I picked the Patriots. I think Mac Jones, he's going to stay within himself, and I believe I can confidently say that more than I can say that for Tua. Both these teams, great defenses, pretty good supporting casts around them. They can effectively run the ball with no matter who is in the backfield. But even though I haven't seen Mac Jones play yet, I can confidently say that I believe he will put the team closer to a win than Tua Tagovailoa will for Miami. And it's Belichick versus one of his previous assistant coaches. And Belichick is always comes out on top in those games. I think Flores is a great coach, but I think that the Patriots have a couple tricks up their sleeve. And I think just overall, they tend to win these kind of matchups, the 50-50 games. They win those. And they didn't last year with Cam Newton. I think Mac Jones give him a better chance this week. So I'm going with the Patriots.
I'm so mad. We went same picks again. I'm picking New England.
Hey, but think about it. These are only the games we're talking about.
Yeah, that's fair. We'll show our things in Insta and on YouTube community posts. But Jack and I, there's always like 2 or 3 games that we differ on. But I'm going New England here too. I mean, they're always a great team in September. They won the Week 1 matchup last year, despite having a new quarterback. And I think Mac Jones does well in his first start. Again, they're at home. I think a lot of things are actually in their favor. A lot of new pieces. I think Mac Jones actually has a pretty good field of weapons here. That defense is still going to be really good on all 3 phases, being led under Bill Belichick. And like you said, he always beats the coaches in his coaching tree. So yeah, I'm going to go with New England here. I'm just so mad that we didn't get any differences on the air, but I'm sure we'll have some.
Definitely.
We'll show the rest of them later on. But yeah, I'm going with New England here.
Last year in Week 1, this was the matchup, wasn't it? I think it was.
Yeah, it was a big one.
Yeah, and I went with the Patriots in that game, and I think I'm going to roll with New England again here. I'm trusting Bill Belichick over Brian Flores. That's what it is for me. I never really bet against Bill Belichick in Week 1 in the first place. So, I mean, there's that for me. I'm really excited to see Mac Jones. I am really excited.
I can't wait.
Because in my mind, like, Cam Newton just looked very weird in a New England offense to me. But now that Mac Jones is here, it's going to look a bit more like that Tom Brady type of offense. We already talked about him early in the episode, so I'm going to keep this short. But I'm going to go with New England at home. 2 great defenses just sparring against each other. So I expect this to be pretty low scoring. But I think New England comes out on top.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great Week 1. There's some other games that we left off that are going to be great football games for sure. I think the Jets-Carolina game, marquee matchup, Sam Darnold facing the Jets again, and both teams that I think could be a pretty even matchup. Seattle versus Indianapolis, Carson Wentz and Quentin Nelson supposed to be back for Week 1, so that's going to be a great game. Games like Philly-Atlanta, those games will be close.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of good matchups, and overall, no matter what happens, football is back. It's the best feeling in the world. This is the Thursday sitting down watching the game.
I'm excited.
Feel very grateful for that. It's been a long off season, but we're glad and super happy to be back. Super excited. Like we mentioned, everything about picks, we'll have it on our Instagram community post, stuff like that. Might as well go follow if you're here right now and you want to follow along, and give yourself a chance to, maybe win yourself a giveaway at the end of the year if you guys win. Also, while you're down there, please consider following us on Twitter. You can find other places where you can find the podcast if you want to listen to the audio form. If you're on YouTube, please consider hitting the like button and the subscribe button. that's kind of all we got for you guys today. We'll be back next week. We'll do this kind of same thing, recap week 1, make some bigger picks for week 2, see where we were wrong and where we were right, because there's going to be a lot of both. But anyways, we hope you guys enjoy this episode so much. Enjoy some football on Thursday. Kick your feet up, watch, and let us know what you guys think of the week 1 games. We'll be right there alongside with you. Thank you guys so much for listening. We've been the Cold Hard Truth Podcast, and we will see you next time.